This is the Scorer to Follow podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Score to Follow podcast with me, Mark Annals. To my left is Neil Monday.
Hello.
And right in front of me is Dan Laundy.
Hello.
Today we're just going to be talking about transfer rumours and the latest rumours about who's going where. I think we'll start on probably the biggest rumour of a player going somewhere is probably Kylian Mbappe of Monaco. It seems to be interested in quite a few clubs. Arsenal being one. Apparently, we put in a bid of in the excess of 100 million, got rejected. There's Liverpool have come into it now. Apparently, still think he's more than likely to go to Real Madrid more than anything. But
I cannot believe Arsenal would spend that much money on one player.
No.
I'm not saying that with Spurs hat on, I just don't think they would.
No, it's very, very unlike Arsenal to just go and break the world transfer record on one player.
Is it? I mean, because they've just had such a rough 6 months or so. Is it just like perhaps a response to that?
Well, maybe. I know Arsene Wenger's got to kind of sort of make a statement in the transfer window, but you know the amounts that are being talked about, 120, 130 million. I know he seems like a good player, but he's 18 years of age, and he's obviously his last season was breakthrough season. I think 130 million is just ridiculous. I mean, it may, if someone did that, and he may turn out to be, one of the world's best players. But it's a big sort of outlay to make on someone so young.
I think it's a mad summer, isn't it, right now? Because I mean, you've had a few sort of indications of the way the wind is blown in terms of fees. You've had Pickford going to Everton for 30 million, which I think is probably going to prove a good buy, but it's obviously a lot for a young kid. You've had United sign someone for a considerable amount of money. You've had Liverpool sign someone for a considerable amount of money. I mean, I don't doubt that there is. I mean, from what I have heard from both Arsenal and Liverpool, I think there is real interest in this kid. And I mean, I would say exactly the same about Liverpool. I couldn't see them putting in a bid of in excess of 100 million, but that seems to be the figure being talked about. So you have to say, I mean, is the kid weighing up his options and saying, well, actually, I could go to Real Madrid this summer, but I'll be behind Ronaldo, I'll be behind Bale. Okay, they might sell James Rodriguez, but realistically, where am I going to get my game time? Am I going to become another one of those players who sits on the Real Madrid bench for 2 or 3 seasons before it starts to make sense? Or is he going to go to the likes of an Arsenal or a Liverpool, which neither of us would want our clubs to be seen as a stepping stone, but you think 22, 23, he realises his potential after 3 years at one of those two clubs. He'll be getting regular game time, playing pretty much possibly every week. So you can see some element. I mean, this is my no way me saying I think that the kid will go to either club. My gut feeling still is that he'll actually stay at Monaco for another season. But I mean, from what I've heard from the journalists who've talked about this this potential deal, this kid's been monitored for a long time by both Arsenal and Liverpool, possibly Manchester City as well. I think most of the other clubs in Europe have had some sort of look at him. So there's potential there. It would be incredible, I think, if either Arsenal or Liverpool pulled it off. But you never say never, especially when in this summer when you don't quite know where everyone is with the money that's floating around.
I find it really interesting because he's obviously still young, so he obviously has lots of potential, and he's shown some real quality all through the season. We've mentioned him before, and his coolness in front of goal belies his years. However, it's one season in the French league, which players have been plucked from before, somebody like Gomez, for example. All right, I'm not putting them on the same level by any means, but clubs go to France, they pluck out what they think is the best talent, and often it isn't transferable. Spurs have signed a couple of young French wingers over the last 2 years. Actually, one's from Cameroon, but neither of those panned out. And again, they're not superstars, and they were never in that bracket.
Yeah.
But then you look at players in the Premier League. When Harry Kane came through, the first season that he scored 20 odd goals 2 years ago, it was a one season wonder. There's nothing really about him. He's had a fortunate year. Nobody was talking about him being worth 100 million and suddenly going to a big club. Even after 3 years, there are still some doubters. And yet a young lad who has performed well in a relatively weak European league is suddenly being talked about in the bracket of a world record fee. That to me is senseless. He may well be fantastic. I can't judge, I'm not a scout. But compared to other players that were already established out there, can he really be worth over the value of Bale when Bale first went to Madrid? It's senseless.
It's just, well, I think it's just prices now, isn't it? I think I wouldn't be surprised if I've said it before, but I wouldn't be surprised if this summer a player does move clubs for 100 million or over 100 million. Whether it's going to be Mbappe, I mean, that seems to be the figure that Monaco want for him. I think it'd be better for him really to stay at Monaco, unless Real Madrid do get. I mean, there is talk that they're coming to Mbappe with a promise that they're going to be selling one of Ronaldo, Bale, or Benzema.
I hadn't read that.
Yeah, there was a rumour that they were going to do one of that, and that was their sort of to try and get him to join.
If you read between the lines, the Ronaldo issues of the last couple of weeks, it's clearly a ploy by him to get the tax thing thrown out of court, or at least dealt with by the club. So I don't think Ronaldo's going anywhere. Bale's a funny one because he tends to perform more often than not for Madrid, and he's won them some big games. And there was a point before his injury where he actually sort of took over and sort of became the first name on the team sheet. So Bale perhaps. Benzema flats to deceive for me. So if you're just going to lose one of them, I think possibly Benzema.
The only thing with Benzema though, he's pretty much the only out and out striker they got. Because I know Ronaldo can play out there.
They did the same with Higuain, didn't they, a few years back?
True.
I still don't understand.
I think going back to your point, Dan, it is a mad amount of money, but I think it, like Mark said, it just does seem to be heading that way. For example, Liverpool have signed Salah for what will probably be 39 million. That's now Liverpool's record transfer. I expect them to break that record in this summer. So, I think it just does seem. I mean, we've said for a number of years that it's going up and it's going up and up, but I think this summer it's really mushrooming, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, I couldn't name you who the other another 100 million player would be, but I'm sure there's one out there, possibly Ronaldo if he did move.
If he was on a big enough contract, Sanchez, if he had 2 years left on his contract rather than one.
Well, I think that.
Or was age against that?
Well, I wouldn't say his age against. I know he's obviously not that young, being 28, but they say 27, 28 is when you sort of come into your prime, apparently. But yeah, I think he would be easily worth, if he was on a longer contract, he would be easily worth getting on 100 million. Just to obviously, he's obviously shown he could do it in the Premier League, one of the most difficult leagues in Europe.
Sort of in that next bracket down from the main 3 or 4, isn't he? So perhaps like a Hazard or.
Yeah, I would put those two in about the same. Yeah, I'd say obviously you've got still Messi, obviously Ronaldo, Suarez I would count as well, and Neymar, and then you've got those next bracket players. Bale probably in that next bracket, I would say. Personally speaking, personal opinion, obviously. No, he's an expert, so I don't want to.
No, not at all.
I think that next bracket down though, it's kind of sort of a big drop. You're going to have the players that sort of your top players that you might go for of 100 million, but then I think going down, I think you're really looking around sort of like 50, 60 million. I think it's quite a big drop.
That's
Still, I
why
would say.
that's why someone like Hazard sort of flatters to deceive for me. I think he is really good on his day, but I don't know. He just doesn't look compared to those ones that we just mentioned. I don't rate him as highly.
No, he was my example actually. Who I was just like thinking. I think if he went, like for example, if he went to Real Madrid this summer, I think Chelsea he'd probably go for like 50 million. I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Who, Hazard?
Yeah.
No, I think he probably ended up going for mid-80s.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, the prices that are going around now. I mean, obviously PSG's been the slight rumour with him, although not much. That has to be said. Not much coming out of Chelsea.
Seems to have died down quite a lot in recent weeks after all the talk of Costa, whether or not Conte was going to stay, whether or not Courtois was going to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just gone really quiet at Chelsea now, isn't it?
I would still be shocked, if we just move on to it briefly, I would still be shocked to just hijacking the agenda, of course.
No, that's fine.
I would still be shocked if Costa was at Chelsea at the beginning of the season.
I don't think
they're making quite obvious noises to replace him. And, obviously the thing came out about how Conte sent him a text saying he didn't want him or something.
He tried to go above his head to the board, and the board basically stuck by Conte, which is probably quite wise of them if they want to keep him as manager.
Well, yeah, I think you look at what the guy's done in his first season, and you're not going to be going against him, I suppose, in favour of somebody who did want to leave in January. So,
well, yeah, that's true. I reckon he'll end up holding out and going to Atletico at Christmas.
You think?
Yeah. He might go on loan somewhere for 6 months, maybe even to the States or something like that. But I think he will go back to Spain.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that that's the only place he wants to go anyway. So
yeah, I don't think, like I say, if he does leave Chelsea, which I think he probably will, I don't think it's really a big loss for Chelsea, because I think there's plenty of strikers out there that could do the same job of him and well, maybe not as quite as mad.
He gives them something. He gives them an edge, and
yeah,
and that edge makes them tick sometimes. And I wonder, because people talk about Hazard being, the key component of that side when it's on form. He is the key component. But I do think that edge that sometimes gets the crowd up, gets some of the other players up.
Well, he's obviously an aggressive striker, isn't it? But he just needs to channel his aggression in the right way rather than getting involved in stupid things on the pitch.
But Drogba was similar, really, wasn't he, for Chelsea? I think Chelsea need I think you're right, actually. I think they need somebody with a sort of fire in his belly kind of thing. Is
Lukaku then? Because that's the one that everyone's expecting to go over the line at some point.
Yeah.
So he's not a like for like, is he?
No, he's obviously going from like Drogba. He's like I say, he's more of a Drogba. But I wouldn't say he's got a sort of a mean streak in him. I wouldn't say.
Not that we've seen anyway.
No, not that we've seen. So it'd be interesting. He'd score goals. There's no doubt about that, because the amount of attacking talent that Chelsea have got, he would get goals. But
I think if he comes up against an informed Vidic back in the day, or maybe a Godin at Atletico again, I think you can put him on a leash compared to somebody like Costa.
Yeah,
there's not many of those type of centre backs around anymore, though. I think they're more about ball playing centre backs now, rather than just ones that just go in with hard tackles, win the ball, and then give it to the players to do stuff. So
I mean this is a slight digression, but I think there's still a place for that player. I think your ideal, depending on what you want to do, your ideal sort of centre half partnership is that sort of John Terry-esque kind of stopper against somebody who is more of a ball player. So Vidic and Ferdinand is the perfect example.
Just going to say, that worked wonders for them, didn't it? So. I think it is needed. You need someone in defence who's got a bit of aggression, and is going to do all the dirty work.
Yeah.
Where the other guy, you can give him the ball, he'll obviously pick out a pass to the midfield, and then they go from there. So,
yeah. Well, talking of ball playing centre halves, bit of a segue, but and Chelsea as well. But Van Dijk saga rumbles on.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure. It's hard to know what to make of it, and in fact, I sort of think I wish because there's obviously been some talk of Chelsea putting in a bid, and I think I'm quite hopeful that Chelsea will put in a bid, because I think one way or another that will resolve the situation. If Chelsea put in a bid, then Liverpool can put in a bid.
Yeah.
If Liverpool don't put in a bid, then obviously they clearly have actually ended their interest.
Yeah.
So for me, that'll be the. But I mean, it's still going on in the background, and I still wouldn't be surprised to see the player move this summer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be unlikely he's going to stay at Southampton. I know Southampton's owners come out and just saying that they won't be selling any of their big players this summer, but how often do you hear that from
I saw a thing then afterwards of them saying exactly the same thing about like Mane and Lallana and Luke Shaw and you name it. So,
but I think it'll be the same sort of. It's like you say. I wouldn't rule Liverpool out of still making a bid for him, but like you said, I think because of what's gone on, I think you need to wait for someone else to make a bid before you can actually do anything else.
City interested as well?
Yeah.
Well, I heard they'd been priced out of it, but that was a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if they've then decided to come back in. But
Manchester City priced out.
I know. I thought it was a very bizarre. But apparently they were balking at paying 70 million, which seemed bizarre.
Well, they've already spent about 70 million on two players, haven't they?
Exactly.
So.
Well, look, after what I've read today, you could always all give it up and just pick up a cheap Stephen Colker. He seems to be available for QPR. Don't want him anymore.
Yeah, but
he's a centre half,
Premier
League quality.
True. But
I mean, I didn't rate him at Spurs, but he needs to rebuild his career, and he might not be a bad option for someone.
Yeah, but obviously it seems like he's not in a. But from obviously headlines that come out today, he's not really in a good place.
I think
actually, if you read it, it's not a nice story, but it is kind of uplifting towards the end. He's training and actually, he said that QPR want to keep him, but he doesn't want to stay there.
Oh, really?
Which, it was rather odd. Ian Holloway's absolutely desperate to keep him, apparently, but he said that I think he probably wants a fresh start somewhere, which is probably fair enough.
Because he nearly moved to Russia at Christmas.
Yeah, he said about that. It was almost going to go through, but he was like, I can't do that. It was
madness.
He was in a really dark place at the time, which is. Yeah, obviously sad, but I'd say hope he gets better soon.
Yeah, it's an expert. Obviously, wish him all the best.
Yeah, but it seems he is already on that road, which is good to hear anyway.
But just bringing it back to the Russia thing, you talk about Chelsea getting involved in the Van Dijk transfer possibly, but Kostas Manolas, the Greek centre half at Roma, he supposedly had a deal agreed to go to Zenit, where I think Roberto Mancini's the manager now, and that's kind of being held up because his representatives supposedly are trying to arrange a deal with Chelsea. So
because he had a medical arranged, didn't he? And he didn't show up for it.
Yeah. So if Manolas ends up going to Chelsea,
then
that leaves Van Dijk's options. If you say City have been priced out, that only leaves him with Liverpool, and then he's kind of a stalemate because Liverpool.
Yeah, because of the situation. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll have to see what develops. I have to admit, as always, it's the caveat that football makes fools of us all, and he could be in Stamford Bridge by Saturday. But I just don't see him going to Chelsea. I don't think he'll be. I think they'll want a different type of defender for that 3-5-2 they play.
I honestly don't know if Southampton will let him go because you wonder what prerequisite, was part of the deal when they got the new manager in. Because he might have said, well, I need 6 months with my best players. If after that nothing's going right, then obviously we can look to release a few that want to go.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I could see Southampton keeping him. I could also see a transfer happening, but I think it might be a late one. I think it might be a case of you have to wait until even August, which I know Klopp wouldn't necessarily like because he likes to have his players in by sort of mid-July, but obviously I think Liverpool this summer have really kind of identified prime targets. There's not a lot of secondary targets being talked about if we don't get these players, so
could entertain a swap deal with Dan Lovren.
That might go down well. Yeah, he's loved down at St Mary's. Other rumours have been circling around.
Well, I was going to say, what much else going on at Liverpool? Apart from, I know you did some business quite early, and we've also talked about Van Dijk. But anyone else that you've been linked with?
Obviously Salah's done, which is
Oh yes,
good.
Salah. So I forgot about him.
Got to mention that happened last week, so that was really good. Actually, really quite funny the way the club announced it.
Yeah.
You saw it, did you? Sort of him thumbing through the tweets and then going, "Hello,
I've been announced."
Announced,
Yeah.
Which is great. I quite like that, in fact. And the CEO of Liverpool's been sort of engaging with the fans on Twitter and sort of getting involved in jokes and stuff, which I think is quite nice. But anyway, all that rubbish aside, Naby Keita seems to be the strong link. They seem to want him at midfielder playing for RB Leipzig, but I don't know if this is another one that could run because I think Leipzig don't need to sell.
No, and there seems to be a few clubs, a few clubs showing interest in him as well. So
yeah, that fee could rise and rise if he is available.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't get overexcited when people started talking about it on Monday because apparently he said he wanted to leave, but it just sounds to me like it's going to be a difficult deal to get done. Not impossible, and I think if they get it over the line, whatever fee they pay, I think they'll have done well by the sound of it. He's a really good midfielder, sort of complete package, and makes good runs, scores plenty of goals. So I think it'd be nice to have him. I'm not sure exactly where he fits in the plans, or whether they've just sort of gone, he's just really good. I think like Mbappe's a bit like that. I think it's just like, if we can buy him, he's just really good.
So I don't think you need any more forward players now.
Yeah.
Is he a forward or is he a midfielder?
Keita's a midfielder.
That was it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I've not seen much of him. I don't tend to do the whole YouTube thing and watch clips of them or anything, because I think, well, if they don't come, that's just time wasted.
Well, the thing is
from what I've heard of him, he's a good prospect.
About those clips, YouTube clips. It's just someone puts together all his best bits. Like, when he's like, he might have scored like a really bad own goal or something.
You never see those.
No.
Tripping over his own feet.
No.
Although I have to admit, one of the Salah ones I saw was ridiculous. And this is no bearing on anything I'm saying he's going to be amazing or stuff, but he's managed to score a goal from pretty much the touchline.
Oh, really?
It was absolutely incredible goal.
What, for Roma was it all?
Yeah. It was
I mean, he was a talent before he sort of got thrown on the scrap heap at Chelsea. When he was sort of at Basel, it looked like he had something about him. He was always dangerous.
He very nearly joined Liverpool before he joined Chelsea. It was all talked about. It seemed to be set up, and then Chelsea stole a march. But
sounds like Willian all over again.
I think it was about 6 months after the Willian thing happened. It was like, how has this happened again?
He's very quick as well, isn't he?
Yes.
So you've got that one side and possibly Mane through the middle or down the other. That's a lot of pace on the Liverpool.
And he can deputise for Mane. Well, if Sturridge stays.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you need, though, isn't it? Like if you got both very quick wingers from both sides, then
it's where Spurs are going to lack, or they've got the wing backs. But
he can also deputise for Mane, obviously, if he's out, because we did miss Mane last season when he wasn't playing. I suppose as you briefly mentioned outs, you mentioned Sturridge. Still wouldn't be totally surprised to see him go, especially if we did sign another forward, be it Mbappe or somebody else. But it sort of seems very quiet on that front. But then again, I think those are things that will probably... Liverpool tend to, if the transfer if they're doing anything on deadline day, it's normally selling players. So wouldn't be surprised to see
I'm gonna say this now, and it's risky on a microphone. If Liverpool sign Mbappe, I will do the first podcast of next season naked.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in your pants.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Why is that better?
I want to see what pants you wear.
If you were going to do it naked, we're not turning up. We don't want to see you naked.
I'll just have to cup myself anyway.
Right, okay, moving on.
Rash promise. Rash promise alert.
It's just not going to happen. Speaking of transfers on Merseyside, busiest club, Everton.
Yeah.
A lot of action going on at Everton. They've signed David Klaassen earlier.
Yeah, David Klaassen, yeah.
It was last week. They close to a £25 million deal now for Michael Keane at Burnley, who've been linked with a few other big clubs.
Pickford, we've also already mentioned.
Yeah. They signed, or seem to have signed, that striker that was linked to Arsenal and West Ham just the other week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, if Spanish journalists are to be believed, they've also signed Sandro Ramirez from Malaga, but obviously just waiting for it to be confirmed after the European under 21s.
I think there's rumours that Barcelona have shown some interest, and that's what's holding him. Well, not holding up because obviously he's away at the.
He was Barcelona, wasn't he?
He was. He was.
He was a Barcelona player,
was.
but they often put in buyback clauses.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's what's happened. But so Everton have signed or potentially signed about 5 players in the last sort of 3 weeks.
Yep, they're getting their business done, definitely, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're doing some good deals, but I think people, it's all very easy for us 3 and other fans to get a bit antsy and say Everton are buying all these players. Why aren't we? But Everton are trying to bridge a gap.
Oh, I've no problem with it. Really.
So it's No, I wasn't really directed at you. It's more people who lose their shit on the internet because they haven't signed 5 players and we've signed 1. And it's just like, well, they're trying to make up the ground, aren't they?
Yeah, your squad's settled and you're just trying to fine tune it, whereas somebody else is trying to join the party.
Yeah, absolutely, and fair play to them. They're showing some good ambition there. Keane could be a good prospect. Seemed to be on his way to Manchester United forever, and then all of a sudden they signed Lindelof. So I suppose then Everton was the next choice. I know there was rumours of Liverpool as well, but
to be honest, the cynic in me thinks, well, they're probably going to sell Lukaku, so they've got that money to come in, and realistically, they're also probably going to lose Ross Barkley. So you've probably got the best part of £120 million there that they've got ready to come in.
That's true.
And also got quite a rich owner as well anyway, so they've got money there anyway.
It just reminds me the other year of when Spurs went out and bought 6-7 players with the Bale money before Bale went, and I just wonder whether Everton are doing something similar with the Lukaku money before it comes in.
Liverpool did a similar thing with Suarez, although it was after Suarez left, but it was clearly that money.
Yeah.
Where do you think Barkley's going to go? Because I've not heard any rumours. I know City have been long talked about.
Tottenham have been the
favourites.
But apparently you've been quoted 20 million in there, but I think Tottenham are trying to get the price down.
Everton supposedly want 53 million for him.
Oh, really?
But he's only got a year left of his contract, so naturally Daniel Levy. I mean, this will probably run till transfer deadline day.
Yeah.
11:58.
Yeah.
On August the 31st.
And even though he's not at the club anymore, Harry Redknapp will probably be milling around outside waiting to do an interview.
Carl Winner.
Call him a top player.
Well, at least should be. He'd probably get caught because obviously he's now a manager again at Birmingham, so I'm sure there'd be some reporters just hanging on to his car.
Oh yeah.
Anything without that, would it?
Yeah.
I think he'd be a good incoming for Spurs. I think he adds to a squad that needs. Good winger in his day.
Yeah, been there though, hasn't he?
I think it'd be a good addition. I don't know. Again, similarly to you mentioned, was it Keita just now?
Yeah.
Similarly to him, I don't know where he fits in at Spurs because he's not going to dislodge an Ali and Eriksen.
Yeah.
If they want him supposedly as a number 10, so should it happen, I'd like it. I think he's a very promising player, even though he's had a couple of seasons where he's been a bit in and out. But Poch is good with youngsters, isn't he? So
I don't know what he is. I sort of feel a bit like this with Lukaku, even though I know that Lukaku's a striker who kicks the ball in the goal 20 times. But I'm not sure what Ross Barkley is. He's shown enough talent to be really quite something at some points, but then other times, and this is why I think he's a bit like Lukaku, he just doesn't really seem to be able to get in the game. So
I think he'll come in. It should Spurs or whoever get him. I think he'd play like an Ali role, which is why I don't know how you'd keep him happy.
Yeah,
because then would you play Ali? That's the thing.
Exactly.
I think of course you would. He's not going to dislodge Ali.
Well, no.
And that system is so built up with that, that Kane Ali. I like to call it an axis.
It's not an axis of evil.
But it is to Mark. But it's hard one to figure out. I mean, it'd certainly be nice for a top 6 club to have in their squad, but I don't know if he's going to get maximum. I don't look at any of the top 6 and think he'd get lots of game time at any of them.
But then I wonder if a player like him has to look at where he's at and think, well, Everton are trying to build, we're going to be at a certain level. He already knows that a Spurs or a Man City are likely to be competing for the sorts of things, the Champions League and that sort of thing. So he might think to himself, well, I'm not going to achieve that here, and although I might not play that much or as regularly, I'm in and around it.
Yeah.
So it might just be that risk he has to take.
Yeah, to kick on, certainly.
Yeah, Ross Barkley just reminds it just out as the player he is. He's obviously got a lot of talent, but he just reminds me of your typical like luxury player who's you could obviously make it happen, but he's not obviously there all the time, and he's just not performing at the same level every week. He may look better against some of the lower teams, but against some of the bigger teams, maybe doesn't show up.
I mean, there's a consistency issue there, but again,
he's still young, isn't he? But
I think if I could use a similar example, they're different players, but in terms of the turnaround, Spurs had Moussa Dembele for a couple of years, who always had it in his locker to be very good, but it was only when Pochettino seemed to get hold of him over a 6-month spell. Dembele to me is one of the first names that goes on the team sheet now, because he's a monster in midfield.
Plays an important role, doesn't he?
He's a very good player.
He does, but he's only shown that level of consistency over the last year to 18 months. So I wonder if part of the selling point to Barkley could be, well, look, this is what I've done with other players that have been underperforming. I can do this for your career, you can do this for us. So, but it's all hearsay anyway on that, because there's no actual bids being reported right now.
Anything else going on at Tottenham? Any outs? Any possible? I know obviously you've got the new stadium to possibly pay for anyway, but
it's all very quiet. I mean, I keep a close eye on things, and you get people who claim to be in the nose and all that sort of nonsense. But I think the only other movement that's been talked about really is outs, and that's been Kyle Walker possibly going to City with some lad called Pereira coming in. If that's supposedly the first choice, and then the possibility of Vincent Janssen leaving, which I don't think will happen. I think he'll get another year. I don't think you can keep bringing in players for a year thinking it hasn't worked and getting rid of it like they've been doing with the wingers. You know, obviously, and Kudo at the moment, don't know what's going to happen with him. But before him, and G came in, didn't work, went out.
Yeah, Walker would be a big loss, I think. Although, and you can see exactly what he would bring to Manchester City, especially as they've pretty much released Zabaleta, haven't they?
Yeah, he's got West Ham now.
Yeah. So
I don't know why you'd let him go to somebody that, in theory, I don't know if they will be next year, but in theory is currently a rival.
Yeah,
I don't know why you would do that, because didn't he have the most assists for a fullback in the league last season? I don't know why you'd give that to somebody you're competing against. Whatever the money is.
Well, yeah, it's the same sort of thing with City, and supposedly they're the favourites to get Alexis Sanchez. I mean,
but Arsenal aren't really competing with City, are they?
Ooh.
Well,
sorry, opportunity just to.
But you don't want to make people that you're chasing stronger.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Arsenal supposedly come out and said that we're not going to sell to our rivals. We don't need to do that anymore. But if he's supposedly he's got his heart set on working with Pep Guardiola again. I mean, if it's the case, there's no point keeping an unhappy player. But
does City need him? Do you think?
Well, no.
They seem to have an embarrassment of riches.
City don't really need anyone. They just sign people for the fun of it.
They were linked with Aubameyang the other day.
Yeah.
Now they've already got Jesus obviously up top, and they're obviously saying how is he going to play alongside or as well as Aguero. So there's been a lot of talk of Aguero leaving anyway. Aguero says he's staying, and then you see City get linked with other strikers, or even Sanchez. There was
actually a rumour the other day that there was talk about a Sanchez Aguero swap, and I was like, well, if you have to get rid of Sanchez, I'll quite happily take Aguero, to be honest.
I'd be very disappointed to see that.
I think with Sanchez, I wouldn't rule out him staying still, but I think if he does go anywhere, it might just be that this City thing will rumble on for a while, and then Chelsea will just come in and take him because he gets to stay in London that way, especially if Hazard does leave Chelsea. I think that they would just I think that's what would happen. That'd be my but I mean, having said that, Arsenal got to stand firm. It reminds me a bit when we refused to sell Suarez to Arsenal and he effectively went on strike. But you've got to say you're not going to be able to compete with these teams if they're taking your best players off you every summer.
No. No, I think well with the old Suarez thing, you know, if we'd offered 40 million plus £2, might have got him, but then £1 wasn't enough. So
you had to speculate over what you were smoking at the Emirates or whatever it is, John Henry.
Yeah, it was, isn't there?
There's a few things with Arsenal going on at the moment, because obviously we opened with the Mbappe story.
Yeah.
But in the similar reports that I've seen, they've also been linked with Lacazette.
Yeah.
Who obviously originally was going to go to Atletico and the transfer ban, so now he's available.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, that may not happen. Today, you've been linked with a £30 million move for Lamar at Monaco.
Yeah.
It's another Frenchman.
Yeah.
Never been the same since 50-50. That's a dreadful joke. I do apologise.
I mean, the whole thing. I mean, with Lacazette, we've needed a prolific striker since Thierry Henry left, really.
But isn't Lacazette like 25, 26 now, and he's
26.
still not able to get in the French squad?
Well, funnily enough, obviously Giroud's in front of him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be honest, he's a goal scorer, and that's just what we need. We need someone who can just put it in the goal. With regards to us going after Lamar, I think that's a sign to we're giving up hope of keeping Sanchez, because he's a left-sided midfielder.
But Sanchez doesn't often play there, does he?
Well, he plays on the left side
just
of
cuts
the.
in a lot.
Yeah, he probably played throughout front. It would either be like Giroud, or because we did play Sanchez up front for a little while last season, but then it was either Giroud or Welbeck, and then we'd have then we'd have one either side. It'd be Sanchez on the left.
I mean, you might just be trying to get these players to keep.
Well,
Sanchez,
all the
show a bit of ambition.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best we can really do is just try and make a statement in the transfer market, and hopefully, I mean, these bids we apparently put bids in for Lamar and Lacazette, both been rejected. The thing is, we're going to have to just go in. If we really want them, we're going to have to just go in with more money, because it's going to get, if we just keep going in with offers that are just going to get rejected, you're going to find it's happened quite a lot where we just in the end get because someone else comes in with more money and then gets them.
It's not a summer to be hanging around, I don't think, trying to quibble over a couple of million. As mad as it sounds.
Yeah, get your deal agreed and get the player across the line.
I mean, Lacazette makes perfect sense to me as well for Arsenal. I think he'd be a really good addition. I think from what I've heard about the player, I know he seems to get linked to English clubs every summer, but eventually he's got to make the plunge. If he is 25, 26 now, he should be coming into his prime.
He's had a couple of good seasons now in French. I think his last season was his best goal scoring season. But so, I mean, I'm hoping we go back in and we do sign these two players, because it does show really a statement, and hopefully it will help with persuading people at Ozil and Sanchez to stay.
It's funny because West Ham was supposedly after the same couple of players, or Adama Traore. So I put a tweet out the other day saying, well, it's almost certainly then just going to be Adama Traore, isn't it? Because West Ham fail every summer to actually get that big name striker.
Showing ambition.
The thing is with Adama Traore, so I saw another room the other day, and it was actually Chelsea, and there was a list of players that are interested in attacking players, and then it said Adama Traore.
Didn't they just sell a Traore who's better than Adama Traore to Lille?
They did.
He's quick, isn't he? That's all I know about.
He's quick and then headless
doesn't have an end product. So.
Fantastic.
Jibril Cisse Mark 2.0.
But without the finish.
Jesus.
There is one other thing actually I'm thinking of for Liverpool.
I think I've thought of it as well.
I was just going to say about it.
As possible outs. Well, it seemed that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was going to stay at Arsenal for quite some time. It seemed that was sort of inching towards a deal, but then Port came out of the Times about 2 weeks ago saying that he wasn't very happy with what Arsenal had offered him. Now looks like Liverpool are interested Well, no, they're definitely interested. Although it was quite funny because when Klopp was asked about it in January, he actually categorically denied that we were interested, which he never does. So, which was a bit interesting. But yeah, so
will they be interested now though? Simply because you've got Sane and you've just signed Salah.
well,
I was just going to say the thing is, what Liverpool might be thinking is Oxlade-Chamberlain wants to play in the centre of the midfield. That's where he sees his position going forward.
I find that amazing.
I mean, he's obviously got a lot of pace, so we play him on the wings because obviously we say okay, he's got great pace. We use his strength. Use his strengths to our advantage. But I think ultimately he wants to play in centre midfield, and I think Arsene Wenger's just said, well, I've got other players in play there. I think you're better as a winger, and maybe that's just the that's just been the final straw. He thought, look, okay, I want to progress as a centre midfielder, and that's maybe Liverpool are thinking.
Tallies with what I heard, which was not necessarily that it was. Like I say, I mean, I only heard this from the journalist who broke the story, and he was doing another podcast. But he said it wasn't necessarily the money that Oxlade-Chamberlain wasn't overly impressed with, but other factors which would tally into that. But I don't necessarily know whether Liverpool are playing in the centre. I mean,
and those are quite well stocked there as well, aren't you?
And if you sign Keita as well,
yeah. But I think Keita's still unlikely.
Quite a long way away, that one, I think.
Yeah. Whereas I think, I don't know, because of obviously Arsenal may say we don't want to sell to a rival again, but I think Oxlade-Chamberlain now looks like there's a decent shot that could happen. And I don't know, but because he looks to me as well. Obviously, you're saying Arsenal playing him on the wings. I could see Liverpool putting him at left back sometimes if they wanted to. I think they might do that. They've done it with Milner. So, I mean...
Will you ever sign a left back?
Apparently not. I can't remember who the other left back we've been linked with is. But
Robertson was another one as well.
I think it could have been him, yeah. But, I mean... I don't think he'll... I mean, Milner, I think Milner's done a good job there. I do think there's a concern about the fact that he's 32 and,
James Milner's 32?
I know.
It's
a bit worrying, isn't it?
Well, it's been around for years, though, isn't it? Obviously, he made his debut as a 16-year-old.
Yeah, it was Villa, was it? I think, or no, Leeds.
Yeah, it was at Leeds.
Leeds.
Scored, I think, as well, didn't he? In his debut.
Yeah. But I think they'll want a younger understudy for him to go there. But there's a possibility that if I think they maybe if they played free at the back, they could put Oxlade-Chamberlain there. Whether they'd be happy on that, I don't know. But I don't know. Like I said, there's still a certain amount of doubt in my mind that will definitely go through, because I think if Arsenal put their foot down, then perhaps it won't. But then he's not really.
Well, it seems like we're not. We've been a bit slow with obviously with talks. Well, with and Chamberlain's got a bit frustrated because of it. I mean, regarding other outgoings, well, so I mean, seems that Lucas Perez is going to go after only a season. A bit unlucky with injuries, but didn't get a lot of game time. But that one's not worked out.
That was a punt, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that one was we'd gone for, because I think we were after Lacazette, obviously last season, and that didn't happen. So we signed him as sort of a last sort of minute deal. But should we just have a quick look at the rest of the rumours going around?
Just to catch your eye.
A quick few things to keep your eye on over the next week.
I see Fabio Borini going to AC Milan. That was a bit of a strange one, I thought.
Interesting. They're buying up everybody, AC Milan.
Well,
now they've got a little bit of money again.
Yeah.
Never really knew what to make of Borini. He sort of had spells where you thought you might have something about him, and you're probably best positioned to answer this, Neil. But
seemed to work hard, but lacked quality for me. Having seen him at Liverpool and Sunderland, you couldn't fault his effort, but I didn't think he had enough about him, really.
He didn't score enough goals for a striker, did he?
No. But then, I mean, AC Milan may have seen something in him, or it's effectively it is his homeland, isn't it? So he could be. Perhaps I mean, it does surprise me they've gone in for him, but perhaps they're trying to build the club back up, I suppose, gradually as well. So perhaps that's the sort of the level that.
Yeah, I mean they've done in Everton. They've picked up 4 or 5 already this summer, haven't they? So
there's obviously Chelsea, who apparently. There's a couple in there. There's Bakayoko at Monaco, but the one that surprises me a bit is they're apparently they want to get Alexandro from Juventus. Seems like a good player, but he's a left back, and Marcus Alonso they signed last year, and he had a really good season. So I don't know why that's really needed.
Spent a lot of money on him as well. I think 60 million got talked about.
Something
along those lines.
But roughly around that, which is
unless they're going to look to bring him in and play him on the side of the 3, rather than as a wing back.
But then who do you drop? They've got Azpilicueta there at the moment. He's probably Chelsea's best defender last season.
I wouldn't be surprised to gradually see Gary Cahill
phased out,
shuffled out, but we'll see.
They might want 2 players for every position, especially as they went in Europe last season. Now they are.
True.
I mean, like I say, there's still the possibility of that Manolas deal, or possibly Van Dijk, as you guys touched on. So I think there's a lot of answers still to be given on Chelsea's defence. Arsenal supposedly interested in Seri from Nice. I don't know a lot about him. Again, promising player, but
being quoted 35 million for him, and
I think every Premier League club at the top now, every player they go for that's even an average player,
it's going to be 30.
The quote will be 30 million.
I think this is the market we're dealing in. Yeah, Arsenal seem to really be going over the French league this summer. it's like Wenger's come home again.
Yeah, he's thinking, back in the day where I did the Vieiras, Petit, Henry, Will Towards and stuff, and it's like, I did well then. Maybe I'll just get a team of Frenchmen again. I'll be all right.
Stick to what he knows.
Maybe you can find the next Pascal Seagon.
We can all hope.
Yep.
I suppose one of the final ones. West Brom are allegedly closing in on a £12 million deal to sign Joe Rodriguez. I mean, he was very promising, wasn't he, before his knees?
Yeah, got a fortunate injury.
Him, really, wasn't it? Yeah, he looked a very good player to me.
I was hoping he'd come back and be a similar player to as he was before, but again, perhaps a change of scene.
Yeah, I think just a move away from Southampton. Yeah, just a fresh start. Might
He's 27 now. Didn't he sort of burst? Was it at Burnley?
Burnley, yeah. He's a young
Seems like a lifetime ago now.
Just to as well, I think it's hammering the point home that we've already hammered home several times, but it looks like Nathan Ake is going to go to Bournemouth for 20 million, which seems insane.
But nothing wrong with reinforcing a point.
Yeah.
But I saw today that apparently Chelsea want to insert a buyback clause on it.
Yeah.
So they've let him go to Bournemouth once on loan, then called him back and didn't play him.
Yeah.
And now they're obviously looking to sell him, but then they might sign him back and not play him again.
Yeah.
But
swings and roundabouts for him, isn't it? But I know he did very well on the first half of the season at Bournemouth. Obviously, that's why they've gone back in for him. But
it'd be a good move for Bournemouth. I mean, actually, touching on Bournemouth, a transfer that we obviously predicted might go through.
Claim credit for this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Jermaine Defoe, 3-year deal though apparently, which he's thought was a bit strange. He's 34.
I wonder if there's like a coaching thing attached to the back end of that contract.
Could possibly be, I think. So
it's sort of stick out like a sore thumb there as well, only because they're mostly young players.
Yeah,
it could be like the old guard.
I'm glad we'll see him in the Premier League just a little bit longer because he's a favourite of mine. So
you've never mentioned that before.
To be honest, I think actually it's a good move for Bournemouth because you think about Bournemouth, they've got good players all around the pitch, but you probably think they don't score enough goals.
Yeah,
I mean, Josh King had a good season last season, but apart from that, and Defoe, doesn't matter if he's 34, he's still going to score goals.
I dare say that it will help, but obviously Sunderland still went down with him. So I mean, the rest of that Bournemouth squad still have to.
Yeah, but the thing is,
stay on their mettle.
Yeah, true. But if Jermaine Defoe hadn't scored those goals for Sunderland probably would have gone down with like 2 points.
-6.
Yeah.
Down by Christmas.
Yeah.
I suppose actually, as mentioned in Sunderland, new manager Simon Grayson. So that's quite wasn't quite what I expected they'd go for. More of an experienced Championship man. I thought they might try something like the Eddie Howe sort of blueprint, but I guess I'm not sure who like that is actually out there.
No.
But he'll probably be a good move for them. I'd have thought he certainly knows the league.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they've gone for in the end. That's they probably thought, well, rather than go for like a sort of maybe a biggish name foreign manager who's done alright in a foreign league, let's get somebody in.
They've done that a few times.
Yeah, let's get somebody in that knows the league we're going to be in, knows obviously what players he could possibly sign, and go from there. I think it's a sensible move by Sunderland. To be honest.
I think it will fail. I think he'll get sacked.
Welcome to Sunderland, Simon Grayson.
November.
I find it strange that a club that's looking to rebuild from the bottom, but whilst also looking for an immediate return to the Premier League, would go for a Simon Grayson, because I think should that club be in the position where they're in the playoffs or fighting towards the top of the league, even if they get there, I don't think they'd stick with him next year. I just don't.
Be right, yeah.
I don't think he's got that.
That would be my worry, actually. I do sort of see where you're coming from.
Well, we have to see how.
And there's nothing about him professionally. There's just something about being top level football that he just.
It's a sensible move, but it almost seems too sensible in what is becoming a ridiculous football world.
Yes.
You kind of saying that if Sunderland don't go straight back up, he'll get sacked.
I think he'll get sacked either way.
Yeah. No,
I think even if he got them back up, I think next summer they look for somebody who
a big name
had a Premier League quality about him, and that's no disrespect to him at all.
No.
He may well do a good job, but
Big Sam's available. Well, no, he's not. He's retired.
He's done that.
Yeah,
been there, done that.
Right. Should we round it up there?
Yeah, I think we can. We'd see how those develop. I suppose one thing we haven't mentioned is that our little prediction of Charles Hart ending up.
Oh, I don't know where he's going to end.
No, to Everton doesn't look
not
like.
Everton now.
No,
West Ham's best bet now, isn't it?
Should we go with that one? Try and get Joe Hart to West Ham.
Joe Hart to West Ham, everybody.
Although I think their goalkeeper's all right. Adrian, not the other one.
No,
but,
not Randolph.
He's rubbish.
Sorry, Darren.
No offence.
No. I think this is a hot topic show, but I think a lot of goalkeepers in the Premier League are rubbish.
Okay.
Generally not.
I sort of want you to quantify that, but not now.
yeah. We ain't got time for that now. Maybe we'll write it down.
Right. Okay. We'll leave it there. That was our transfer rumour roundup. You've been listening to Score to Follow podcast, and it's goodbye from us.